All right.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Let's chat.
Let's do it. All right. Welcome to Live in the Lab. I am Thyra, and this is
Abigail. Hello.
We are so excited to do our first ever Live in the Lab. We did some videos yesterday in the other B Lab at UC Davis. That lab has a lot of the microscopes and a lot of really cool rooms, but today we wanted to come over to another lab. It's a lot quieter here. We are sitting in one of the classrooms here in, this is the bee...
This is called Honeybee Haven.
Honeybee Haven. Okay, in which lab? Get your mic.
Yeah, they said that I'm hard to hear, so I'm just scooting it up to my face a little bit. Hopefully I'm easier to hear now. Yes, this is Honeybee Haven, which is a research facility at UC Davis. It allows us to do experiments outside, have beehives here, and have space to garden, so it's a little removed from the main campus.
And we're going to give you a quick tour around this lab, and then we're going to sit back down and answer a lot of questions that we've been emailed, and then people can come on and take a look at this. And yes, Tom, this will be recorded and shown later on, so if you want to come back and watch the recorded live session. But we are going to discuss today, we're going to talk a lot about Houdini fly. That's a really prevalent predator that is on the rise here in the Pacific Northwest. And then we're also going to talk about proper care and maintenance of your nesting material to get rid of predators like the Houdini fly and the pollen mites and the chalk brood and the mono wasp, all of those things. And then we do have some questions. Abigail does a lot of research. How many hosts do you put your tubes out?
So I typically visit 70 or so hosts in the Pacific Northwest.
So through the Rent Mason Bees program, we collaborate with Abigail, and we contact hosts on her behalf and ask if they would be willing to volunteer for Abigail's research. And why don't you tell them what you do at each site?
Yeah, so when I visit people's houses, I go 2 different times in the spring. The first time I visit, I actually open up the back of a couple of filled tubes and take a pollen sample out. And then I'm using those pollen samples to figure out what your mason bees are eating at urban sites. Hang on, they said that they don't think my mic is on. Can you...
Where do you see that? I don't know.
They put that in the chat, not sure, but I don't think Abigail's mic is on.
Oh.
That is so weird.
Is my mic on? Rick, can you hear me? I can see Rick talking. It says it's on. I just don't know how this works through Facebook Live. It's on when I do videos for YouTube. We're just looking at some tech. We saw people joining. Is that better, Rick? Yes, that's better. Okay. So is she talking to my mic?
Hello.
Back and forth. Here we go. I mean, I could do that. Hold on. Let me pull it out of my shirt. Let me go down. Oh, I wrapped it around my necklace to hold.
All right, let me take this one out.
I'm surprised yours isn't working.
Yeah, I don't know what's
all right.
We'll just That's okay.
Old school with our little mics. Okay. Back to Abigail explaining what she does. Here, I'll let you hold that so it's not my big hand in the way. What you do with your research with so Rent Mason Bees provides a list of people that want to volunteer to put bee samples out for Abigail to research. And so go ahead and tell them, like, you're out there all the time. Everyone gets excited for Abigail to come and check the tubes, and so tell them what you're doing and what you're researching.
Yes, so I am interested in why mason bees do better in some places over others. So some of that could be related to where there are more parasites like the Houdini fly. Some of that could be related to what food they have access to, or other things about your surrounding area, how much pollution there is, or how much green space is available. There are lots of different things we think could affect why mason bees do better in some areas over others. So when I visit my hosts' houses, my wonderful volunteers who I couldn't do this without, I take a pollen sample from their house. So I use this to figure out what the bees are eating. Do they have a particular food that, everybody's blocks are filled up at those houses with X type of food available for them? Are there certain houses where there are more parasites? Why do we see more parasites there? So these are the questions that I'm trying to figure out. And this has been over 3 years now. I can't believe it's been 3 years. But the more years that we collect data, it helps us separate just year-to-year seasonal differences from actual aspects about your house. And that's why I've been doing it for multiple.
We have a video on our YouTube channel where we show Abigail opening up some tubes, and she's at one of the sites, and we walk through it. So I guess I can't link on this, but go to our YouTube channel. You'll see there's a link for the UC Davis research. And then we also wanted to talk about the Houdini fly. And I know some of our viewers in the Midwest and East Coast, you're not seeing Houdini fly yet, but here in the Pacific Northwest, they're really prevalent. It was a really bad season for Houdini flies. So why don't you tell us a little bit about where they came from, what we can do to get rid of them, because I know those are a lot of questions that we have been asked about this Houdini fly outbreak that we're having right now.
So the Houdini fly was accidentally introduced from Europe 7 or 8 years ago now. They likely came over on some type of shipment. The mason bees, as you all know, love to nest in tiny little cracks, so they could have gotten into any little space like that on a shipment that came from Europe. And were accidentally introduced in Washington and have now spread into Oregon and British Columbia. In terms of how you can help prevent their spread, definitely do not be sending any filled tubes around or buying filled tubes. You want to make sure you're opening your tubes up, cleaning out those Houdini flies. When you clean them out, you can take them, put them in a Ziploc bag, and pop them in your freezer for a couple days. That kills them. And then you can put your cocoons in bleach and water.
Don't take your cleaning, if you're harvesting and cleaning your own mason bees, don't take that clean material and just throw it in the bin, because you're not getting rid of them. They will go on and live until the following spring. And that's the thing about Houdini fly is they hibernate in those nesting chambers, and they emerge in spring with the mason bees. So they are super easy to spot. Again, we have a ton of videos on our YouTube channel. Open up a nesting chamber. There are these little tiny white maggots. They're sticky, super easy to spot. And when you open your nesting material and you spot them, you'll 100% remove them from your nesting chambers.
Yeah, they aren't found inside of the bee cocoons at all. They all just hang out in the tube. So yeah, like Thyra said, they're really easy to take out. I just pick them up, throw them in a Ziploc, freeze them, and that kills them.
And tell us what you're researching here. So in some of the tubes that Abigail has set out in people's backyards, we're going to attempt to grab the phone and the mic and everything, and we're going to go and show you a little bit of the bee lab, because we want to show, I know I have a lot of students that are checking in today to watch live in the lab, a lot of the students that I go around and I teach at school, so hello. But we want to show you a little bit of this lab. The other lab that we were at yesterday is more of, I think, the lab experience with all the microscopes and all the trays, but why don't we go take them on a little tour and why don't you tell them what you're doing here for the Houdini fly study?
Yeah, so I am incredibly lucky that I was awarded a grant from Western SARE, which is Sustainable Agriculture Research Education. And my goal with that grant is specifically to work on Houdini flies. So part of the grant is to do what I've been doing with you all already, which is sampling Houdini flies at people's nest blocks in their backyards. Another part of it is something I'm going to do this coming spring, which is run cage experiments with the Houdini flies. So we don't actually know how many Houdini flies are going into each nest, how many eggs do each one of them lay. We don't know a lot of basic information about their biology to understand how to stop them. So I'm going to put them in cages to be able to observe their behavior close up. We're doing this in Oregon in a place where they're already established. That way we can figure out what's going on with them. And then the third part we'll show you now when we do a quick lab tour, but I am rearing Houdini flies in different temperatures and humidities to understand how they might establish throughout the U.S. For example, is the Southwest desert too hot and dry for them to live, or if they're accidentally spread there, will they still survive? That way we can target our management efforts to higher risk places.
Yeah, it's really important to figure out how to stop these little suckers because I know you mentioned somebody they're in Europe, so they came from Europe. So have you heard of anything that Europe is doing to help this? Like any studies that you can research further, share about that?
Yeah, so in Europe, they have tried a couple of different management techniques. What they do is actually time when their bees come out. They wait till a certain percentage of the bees come out, and then they burn the nesting materials to kill any flies that are left in there. They have tried sticky traps or like squishing flies at blocks like you all have, which does kill some of the individuals, but we still see pretty high levels of larvae inside the blocks. I'm sure some of you have experienced that. Even if you sit and squish them, you still get the larva in there. So for them, what's works best has been timing when they let their osmia emerge and making sure that they destroy and properly clean out the blocks.
So they don't clean their nesting blocks. They just leave everything in there, and then the mason bees emerge and they burn what's left?
That's what I understand. So they're doing like a spring cleaning rather than a fall cleaning.
Okay. So that's interesting because some of the Houdini fly that we find are in the front and there's cocoons in the back.
The bee can climb out over them.
They can. Okay.
Yeah, and the bees, at least in Europe, emerge before the Houdini fly. We believe that's the case here too. That's another thing I'm hoping to figure out this spring is when that flies versus the bees actually emerge.
Oh, interesting. So still a lot of research left to do on Houdini fly. Oh, and that's the other thing we were going to talk about is we launched last season in spring when we were getting a ton of reports from people. What are these teeny tiny little, they look like little fruit flies with red eyes, and those are Houdini fly. Those are not fruit fly. And so Abigail and I launched the Houdini fly hunt last spring, and we asked anyone who spotted the Houdini fly to please report it. And why don't you share with everyone what the report was, because we had a staggering number of people. So thank you for participating in that. And as you're opening your nesting material in the fall and cleaning, if you spot Houdini fly and you haven't reported it on this list, please do so. We can put the link, we'll put the link, I'll put it on our blog, and then we can add it to the chats here as well. But if you do spot Houdini fly, please make sure you are reporting that to Abigail, and I'll go link that right now so you can tell them what you found.
Yeah, so I'm incredibly grateful to everyone who submitted if they saw Houdini flies at their bee hotels this spring. We had around 250 plus responses to the Houdini fly hunt, which is incredible. It shows us a map of where the Houdini fly is currently found. Most of this was in Oregon, Washington, and British Columbia, as we expected. We did have some people talking about buying nesting material in New York, Pennsylvania, and Oklahoma, where they potentially got Houdini fly but destroyed them. So it is just, like I said, being mindful about where we send filled tubes, not buying filled tubes off Etsy, that sort of thing. So yeah, we are planning on building a big map of everywhere that Houdini flies have been spotted to, again, help us target our management efforts and education efforts to these places to prevent Houdini fly spread.
Yeah. So let's go show them. The humidifier, what's the room?
Oh yeah, I have an incubator room with my Houdini flies. We can go check it out.
Yes, let's go. I'll grab the camera. Maybe do the mic. Why don't you take the mic?
Okay.
I'll undo it from myself. All right. Let me grab this. Wobbly. Sorry guys. We're going to take you on a little tour of the lab.
Hopefully you don't get too dizzy.
I know. Let's see. We'll flip this around. All right. So we're currently in the classroom. There's one of Abigail's research assistants, Addison. And we're just going to walk you down the hall and, across the hall to, go ahead.
Okay, so this is our wet lab space. This is where we keep our chemicals. Super cool in here. We have an X-ray machine, so I can actually X-ray nesting blocks and see cocoons and parasites inside and track the bees' development while they're in the cocoon because I can see through it. And then we can head this way to our dry lab space. So this is our dry lab. You can see we have a lot of field supplies in here because we're doing a lot of digging, planting seeds for experiments, that sort of thing. And here we have loads of specimens. We pulled a drawer out for you to look at. These are all filled with bees from past experiments. Super cute. So we use these to help us inform our current studies. Here's some beautiful bumblebees, carpenter bees, sunflower bees.
These are the bumblebees. These are the big carpenter bees. And do you have leaf cutters in this tray?
I don't, but these are sunflower bees. These are bees that only eat pollen from sunflowers. And then we've got some teeny tiny little sweat bees here.
This is great.
We also have our microscope in here. We do lots of pinning of the bees. And then I have a little teaser for what we're going to see in the incubator room. These are some salts that I'm using for an experiment. So let's go check it out.
Kent just asked us a question. If you spotted Houdini fly in your yard this year, should I clean out my nesting material? Yes, 100% yes. We don't know how many larvae the Houdini fly lay. We were told somewhere around 200 larvae, and mason bees lay 15. So please clean out your nesting material.
Definitely. Okay, so now we're heading into our incubator room. We have 3 big incubators here, and I can control the temperature on these. So I actually have them set to a warmer day and a cooler night, and they experience temperature just like we would. If I open one of these up, you'll see I have loads of little cups in here. Now, what's super cool is in a closed container, you can actually dissolve different types of salts in water, and it will hold a particular humidity. So for example, okay, technical difficulties. Hopefully we're back on track. If you're in the chat, let us know if you can hear us.
That was really cool in there. I wanted to go back and show. We lost our Wi-Fi when we did the tour.
Okay.
All right, let's flip this around. Okay, sorry. Can you still see us? We lost our Wi-Fi when we went on the tour. Can you still see us? Did it go off while we were in there?
Delayed, but
Is it back on now?
Yeah, it looks like it's okay.
Okay.
All right, so I brought back with us one of these little Houdini fly cups. So in these cups, I'm controlling humidity. In this one, you can see I've got lots of little blue balls. They're silica gel, so they keep the humidity very low in this cup. And then
You have Houdini fly larva in here. There's a Houdini fly, so she took out all the Houdini fly when she dissected and cleaned out the mason bee nest that she got back, and she collected all these little, how many larvae per straw?
yeah, so I took
that so you can
that would
use
be
your
great.
hands.
Thank you. Okay, yeah, so I have this teeny tiny straw piece, and there's Houdini fly larva inside of here, and then this sits in the cup. These are Houdini flies that came from all of y'all's houses, and in each brood cell, so that's, the mother bee, right, makes a mud wall, she lays her pollen ball and egg, and then closes it off with another mud wall. So when the Houdini fly goes into one of those brood cells, I took all the larvae that were in an individual cell and moved them into a little straw piece to use in this experiment. And where was I going with this? Oh, I would count how many were in. So In some brood cells, I would only have 1 or 2 Houdini fly larvae, but then in other brood cells, the most that I saw in a single brood cell was 75 larvae.
Wow.
Yeah, so then I'll see what proportion of these survive in their different temperature and humidity experiments, and it tells us, how they might survive in different parts of the United States.
Yeah, so that is pretty staggering. If you open up your nesting chambers and you see, like, I've counted 30 in one of our nesting cells. I've opened up stacking trays or cardboard tubes, and you can see the Houdini fly. There's like curly little brown stuff. If you see curly little brown stuff, that's the Houdini fly frass, which is the poop. And then if you scrape that away, you can see the little white maggots underneath it. And sometimes you don't even need to scrape it away. There's so many in there that they will, they're easy to spot. So just to back up a little bit, the Houdini fly is a kleptoparasite. It relies on mason bee nesting chambers to lay its babies. So mama mason bee does not realize that the Houdini fly crawled into her nesting chamber. So mama put mud, pollen for her baby. Houdini fly went in while mama was out gathering more pollen. Houdini fly snuck in, laid her babies up to 75 in some nesting chambers. Mama mason bee lays her egg, her little baby, and then seals it up with mud. So now you have mud, pollen, teeny tiny mason bee larva or egg, up to 75 Houdini fly, and mud. And those will sit inside the nesting chamber. It kills the baby mason bee, and then it emerges in spring with the mason bee. So it's really important to open up and clean. And yes, if you did see any little teeny tiny little black flies, they look like fruit flies in your yard, those are Houdini fly, and they're hard to get rid of, but that's the best way to do it, is to open it up and clean.
So to answer your question, I freeze the Houdini fly maggots typically for 48 hours. If you want to be extra safe, you could leave them for like 3 or 4 days in your freezer, but that definitely kills them. So it's a very effective way to do it. You shouldn't just throw them in the trash. They will still live and emerge next spring.
Yeah. And then we had some other questions that came in an email. Let's see. If you're tuning in later, Abigail's mic wasn't working, and so we just took off mine and we're handing it back and forth. So thank you for bearing with us. So let's see.
I have a question for you while you're searching.
Oh, sure.
I was wondering this coming year if you have any work you're doing with educators to teach them about mason bees and Houdini flies. Let's see, if I have any educators working with... If you're doing anything for educators.
Yes, so we are launching, and it's not quite done. We're still adding to it, but if you went to our website, rentmasonbees.com, we just added an educator resources tab at the top of our page. If you click that, I've broken it down into 3 sections. We have a lot of master gardeners and community representatives that want to teach more about mason bees, proper care and maintenance. And so, I work with classrooms and teachers. So a lot of teachers like to use our program for science or education to teach kids about pollinators so that they're not afraid, because mason bees are the sweetest little bees. Kids can hang out with them. So if you go to that resources tab, we are offering free PowerPoint presentations, free workbooks, free worksheets, mason bee journals. My PowerPoint presentations are fully loaded with photos and videos, so you can just teach using the PowerPoint presentation. I have 2 different versions. I have a teaching one for teachers, and I have a community one for like master gardeners or garden clubs. Those PowerPoints aren't loaded yet. I'm actually tweaking those. We were in the lab yesterday. And we got some really cool pictures and videos of Houdini fly under the microscope, and monowasp, and all these different
pollen mites.
What was the
Sapija wasp, which is another parasite.
Yeah, so I'll be adding all of that to those PowerPoint presentations, and then providing all of that to you for free. So all of my education resources will be for free, because we want to have more people spread the word about mason bees, proper care and maintenance, and teaching people. And then we also are producing this year, some of you have seen them if you've been at my events, but I have these tiny little really cool tabletop posters that have the life cycle of a mason bee. They roll up and then they roll back down, so they're easy to store. So teachers can use them for teaching, or community gardens can use them for if they have a booth or an insect or a bug or a pollinator event, they can use these to teach people. So we want to make sure to get out as much material as possible so that more people can learn about mason bees. So hopefully that answers your question. So yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's super exciting that you have all of these free resources for educators to use and for master gardeners or master beekeepers. It's super important to be spreading the word.
Yes. Let's see, we had a question about the sex ratio. And then we also had a question about, I think, how did they word it? Where is it? It was about interbreeding. And your answer was yes.
Yes. So the siblings do mate with each other, and the bees don't care. They don't think about it how we think about it.
Yeah.
And then so asking about sex ratio. This is one of the things that I look at the volunteers that I visit. So interestingly, mason bees can decide whether they're going to lay a female egg or a male egg.
Oh yeah, talk about that, because that is super cool.
It's really cool. So female eggs are fertilized and male eggs are unfertilized, which is really interesting and weird thing that bees and wasps do, and not really any other animals in the world hardly.
So cool.
It's really cool. And so when a mason bee is happy nesting and she has lots of resources available, she will actually lay more female eggs because she has more pollen and mud available to her. But if she's stressed out and maybe she has less resources available, she'll lay more male eggs. And so it's one of the ways that I can tell how happy your bees are at their bee hotel is if the ratio of male to female eggs at your house. It's really interesting.
That is fast. Yeah, somebody had asked me that too, like how do they know? So the males are always laid in the back and then the females are in the front, but she knows to not fertilize the ones in the back, so those are the males, and then fertilize the ones in the front for the female. I always thought that. I just learned that. I was like, oh, that's super cool.
Yeah, and when you're cleaning out your bee hotels, you might see also that some of the brood cells and cocoons are much bigger. Those are the females that were laid. And then the males tend to be a lot smaller, right? They just get less resources. And when you see the males and females emerge, I'm sure you can tell the males are a lot smaller than the females. They got less pollen and they're in a smaller brood cell.
So I know we lost our internet connection when we went back to the humidifiers and all of that, but will you talk about there's different ways. So this little container we were just showing you is 10% humidity, and you can use different things. Can you tell people how they can store their bees? If you're renting through the Rent Mason Bees program, you're sending back your nesting blocks and we're harvesting and cleaning, which by the way, we just kicked off this week. So Monday was our launch to the fall harvest, where we harvest and clean 3 million mason bee cocoons. It's pretty mind-blowing to see the team. We're almost done, actually. We got a whole bunch done last week. The team's been busy working. And then if you harvest and clean your own, we have videos on how to do that, step-by-step videos. It's about a 22-minute video that we have on our YouTube channel to teach you how to open and clean and store. And so I always get asked a lot of questions. Well, how do I store my mason bees in the refrigerator, and at what humidity should I store them? And then you open up your refrigerator and you have everything set at different humidity levels. All right, teach us that. Teach us your ways.
Yes, so your mason bees are gonna be happiest somewhere around 40 to 50% humidity over winter. So in your fridge, it's possible that the humidity is a little higher than that, especially if you notice you get some condensation or freezing on the things in your fridge, like on your jars. You should just be mindful that those things can happen to your bees too, right? We don't want that. So one of the ways that you can control the humidity for your bees is by using a little plastic container. So I have these in just a little like deli ramekin that contains sauce at a restaurant. You can get these super easily. You could use a soup one, maybe from your local Safeway or Kroger store, or whatever you got.
Dollar store, because when we did our cleaning video, how to clean on your own, you can buy everything you need to clean for, I think it was like 10 or 15 bucks, everything you need. And so you can pick up these as well. And also, don't forget to mention, these cannot be sealed in the refrigerator. They do need air, so you can poke holes, or if you have the vents like I showed in my video where you can open up the vents so that there can be air that comes inside. But
yeah, so you can't, I don't know if you can see well, but I do have some holes poked in the top here, right? Otherwise you'll suffocate your bees, or in my case, the Houdini flies. And you don't want to do that. So I just used a thumbtack, poked some holes in the top so that there was air. And then the way that you can make the salt solution for you to keep the humidity at, around 40 to 50%, is with magnesium chloride. This is actually an edible salt that you can buy online super easily. People use it for like sports supplements and things like that. It's very safe. And you will just dissolve it in water. So I have another little like medicine cup sized plastic container in here, and that will hold your salt solution. You want to dissolve it all the way. So you'll keep adding magnesium chloride until there's still like crystals sitting at the bottom that won't dissolve in the water. That means it's fully saturated, and then it will just hold the humidity for you. And even a tiny little container like this worth of salt will last for months. So it can last you all winter long. You don't have to refill it up again later, which is super handy. But if you struggle with humidity in your fridge, this could be your solution.
And we're going to do another video after this, because this is live in the lab for only 30 minutes. We're already at the 10:30 mark, but we're going to close off on this. We're going to do another video specifically about humidity, because we get asked that all the time. So we're going to play around with some lab stuff and show you, because these are little Houdini fly larvae at 10% humidity, and you have 50% in there, I saw. So we're going to show you how to do that in a separate video that we'll put on our YouTube channel, because mason bees, I'm assuming you can take a much bigger, if you're harvesting and you have 50, 60, 100 cocoons, hundreds of cocoons, you need a much larger container that then you could put these little capsules in to keep that container at the right humidity in your refrigerator. And I always tell people, when you are putting your bees in your refrigerator, to put them in the crisper drawer, because maybe my kids may have done that a few years ago. I had bees in my main refrigerator, and the kids would open the fridge and wonder what they wanted to eat, and it would lower the temperature, and then I started having bees hatching in my fridge. So very sensitive, and they need to be, what's the temperature they need to be at in the refrigerator?
4 degrees Celsius. Wow, I don't know that in Fahrenheit.
Yeah, okay.
It's the scientist brain.
We're going to do a video to teach you how to store your bees in the refrigerator with proper humidity and the right temperature in another YouTube video. We'll do that later today, and then I'll post that later on this week to show you guys. So I think we're done. That went by really fast. Hey Marco and Greg, Monica, hello. Any other questions for us before we sign off? If you have any, just pop them in the comments section. We'll wait here for just a little bit for some of the people that just joined. If you have any additional questions, we want to make sure we're covering everything. I think I got the questions. Let's see. I have to go. Yeah, Tom. Yes, this will be live. Will be recorded so that you can watch this later if you missed it. I put the link for the Houdini fly hunt in the comments, and then I'll also put it underneath in comments under the live recording. I think that's it. Any other questions coming through? I don't see any. All right. Well, thank you guys for joining us. That went by really fast. We're excited to share some other stuff with you, like we did the video yesterday in the other bee lab, and then we'll do some more videos after this that'll live on our YouTube channel. So anything you want to say?
Thank you so much again to all my wonderful volunteers. Thank you for being diligent about cleaning out your bee hotels, and let us know if you have questions. We're always happy to answer them.
Yes, and this week we also opened our store, rentmasonbees.com, for pre-orders for 2026. So get your bees in before we sell out. You can pre-order right now for mason and leafcutter bees at rentmasonbees.com. At our little shop, we've got everything color-coded for buy to own. We now sell products where you can just buy the nesting blocks that you own and you clean, and you can buy the rental program where we clean for you. So it just depends on your lifestyle. If you want to clean, you're welcome to buy those supplies. And then if you don't want to get all the nitty gritties, we'll do it for you. All right. Thank you so much for tuning in live in the lab with Abigail and Thyra. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.